Lots of progress out here at the Garden Home Retreat. What's up next? We're going to take a look at the kitchen and baths. Over the past 20 years as a garden designer, I've enjoyed helping homeowners create private sanctuaries full of beauty and wonder. I find each garden to be a fresh opportunity to explore ways to create uniquely personal spaces. These are just a few of the gardens I've helped to transform into garden homes. Hi, I'm Alan Smith. Welcome to the Garden Home, a show about blurring the lines between inside and out. Now, all season long, we've been talking about constructing this environmentally friendly house and garden, and we're really making some progress. It's coming along. The garden has led the way, and boy, has it been a beautiful year. We've seen it grow full season, and now it's going to get better and better as some of the plants mature. Now, we're starting to see the house take shape. It's been encouraging to discover so many green innovations in building, and I'm happy to share these ideas with you because that's what it's going to take for people to start putting these ideas to work. It's about knowledge and education. Now, trust me, when we started this project, I had no idea that you could create insulation out of soybeans. You could even use scraps from blue jeans for insulation, or you could use styrofoam blocks as the basis for the foundation of the house. In today's show, we're going to focus on kitchen and bath. And while we're still roughing in some of those areas, I want to show you what we have planned. So come on, let's get started. I have to say, it's really nice to see some elements of completion. The mudroom is really coming along. And if you've seen what I've done in there, I took an 1820s chest, pine, made in North Carolina, and I took a painted piece of furniture that I designed and sat on top of it. I love that combination of the new and the old, but where the styles really work together. As you know, throughout this process, from the exterior, we've really tried to stay true to an early 19th century American farmstead that one would have found in the trans-Mississippi frontier. Now, I want to do the same thing on the inside. So I've been on a search looking for pieces that would be appropriate for the interior of this house, even down to the powder room. Now, as you can see in here today, the guys are using it to pile their tools up and so forth, but very soon it will transform itself into something that I think speaks to the spirit of this place. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago at the International Builders Show in Orlando, I got to see how some manufacturers are taking these ideas from the past and literally recycling them into the future. Mike Terrell shows us an example of a Southern-inspired vanity with a surprising green component. Mike, as I go around the Builders Show, it seems that there's a theme of what's old is new again.
Yeah, I see that trend as well. What we're doing with a lot of things is we'll see the use of authentic materials such as cast iron and knotty pine, but really brought to life in a new aesthetic that's going to be durable.
So with this vanity, you mean this is cast iron?
This is cast iron. The same process that's been used for over 100 years is making these new tops.
My gosh, it's amazing. It feels fabulous.
Cast iron is a great material. It's 90% reclaimed or recycled material. So if you think of manhole covers, radiators, right, auto chassis, those are all melted down and executed in these new shapes.
Tell me a little bit about the styling of it, because that has such a classic American look.
Yeah, the vanity itself, you can see a lot of homage to classic manor homes, and you'll see a nice patina, some hand detailing, and really an authenticity by the change in the size of the stiles and the rails. So it's not really a production piece.
So what type of wood is this again?
This is North American knotty pine, harvested in North America.
Looks like a vintage piece. That's why I had to ask again.
It looks like a vintage piece. This one is really updated so that it's going to perform in the bathroom a little better than an antique. So both the drawer and the door are able to come to a slow close. So the door just needs a little push, as with the door. The inspiration for this was really drawing from our heritage in the South as a country and paying homage to racehorses and racetracks. We were looking at a lot of thoroughbreds and really giving a lot of thought to manor homes.
Right, so sort of the classic antebellum manor house.
Very stately.
Now, I guess with the hardware itself, there's a wide range. One can mix and match just as you can the color of the cast iron top.
Absolutely, and that's part of the key with this is select a piece that's going to work right for your project. the top and then coordinate it with the faucet and finishes as well.
Well, what's nice about this is that you can start with this vanity, and if you're really into eclectic look like I am, then you can add other pieces that will work with it, but they're not, cut out. It's not, everything in the same shape, color, and form.
Very much so. It's part of that unfit trend. We saw it start in the kitchen back in the 80s where islands and hutches were meant to be standalone antique pieces. Now that whole trend is coming to the bathroom.
Now, this idea of the new old house was extremely popular at the Builders Show. And what I learned is that you have lots of choices in every area in terms of building materials. You see, from brick to roofing to paints and columns, it's all there. You see, these products are designed to give this brand new, state-of-the-art house the feeling of a very old farmhouse. There's a lot of activity going on outside and it's pretty muddy, but I wanted to bring you into the summer kitchen and show you some of the advancements we've made in here. Now, we have a ways to go. We still have countertops and cabinets to take care of, an island here, as well as appliances. But we're getting close. Now, I had this table made because it's a great work size. It's 7 by 3. And I have a galvanized top on it, and it's roughly, as I said, the size of the island that will be here in the summer kitchen. Now, I want to have a little fun with the color here. So I just want to show you what I'm doing. This is the rug that's actually going to be in this room. And what I want to do is I want to paint the island some really bright, sassy color. And I've chosen these 3. This is called Raspberry Blush. The middle one here, it's called Ravishing Red. And the one down here, this is Moroccan Red. So I wanted to choose colors that would work with this rug, and you can see all 3 of them will, but I think the middle one, Ravishing Red, is the one I want to go with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this table, or the legs of it, Ravishing Red, and that'll give me an idea of what the island will look like when it's painted and the room is complete. Now, if you look a little closer into this rug, you can see there are lots of different colors here. You've got some pink, you've got red, you've got this beautiful ochre, and you also have gray. And if you take a look at the walls of the room, we've used a studio gray. It's almost like a gun barrel gray. And if you look closely, you'll find that the wall color is slightly darker than the door trim and window trim, as well as the ceiling. Now, if you look a little closer, you'll see that there's actually a difference in the finish on the paint. The walls are flat, but the trim around the windows and the doors, it's got a little gloss to it. Now, that gray is going to match with one of these counter surfaces. This is a man-made product that's eco-friendly, and I haven't decided yet, but I think I'm probably going to go with this one that's got multiple colors in it. I think it'll look really good with this gray colored wall. But as you can see, any of these 3 would go great with the galvanized, of which I definitely plan to use here, and they certainly work well with the wall color. You know what's great about these man-made materials, particularly for countertops, is that there's a percentage of this material that's actually green. It's from recycled product. Now, you don't have to be in a full-blown building project to make green choices. We can make green choices every day. When we're in the grocery store, when we're buying clothes, when we're thinking about a car or having anything done to our car, there are green choices all along the way that we can make that can make a difference. You see, when the new year comes around, I like to encourage my friends to resolve to be better stewards of the environment. It's a lot easier to do this than to, say, vow to drop 10 pounds or something. All you have to do is take a look at the items you buy every day, such as groceries and toiletries. The 3 R's of recycling are reduce, reuse, and recycle. But part of the reuse is to buy recycled products. Otherwise, the cycle is not complete. By supporting manufacturers of recycled goods, we actually help preserve the environment. Let me give you a few examples. Today, so many building products are recycled, from windows made from recycled glass, carpeting from soda bottles, and roofing and framing from steel cans. And recycling paper uses 60% less energy than manufacturing paper from virgin timber. As you can see, recycling conserves our valuable natural resources. But remember, to make the most positive impact on the environment, we should buy products that are recycled. You know, I've discovered in this building process that there are a lot of parallels between designing a garden and designing a house. If you think about a garden as a series of garden rooms, well, there's the parallel to the house. You've got garden walls, you've got house walls, entryways, and views. We frame the views just like we do in the garden. And one of my favorite views here is looking east, and I can see two of the 7 sisters, those big giant oak trees that we have here on the property. Quercus stellata, the post oaks. Here, just on the verge of spring, but still in winter, their silhouettes look so beautiful against the horizon. Now, what's going on in this room is we've got our Dutch door hung. It's made of Spanish cedar, so it's very long lasting. On the walls here, the stud walls, we'll fill that in with the soybean insulation, and then we'll cover it with the pine boards. For the floor, we're going to pine as well. So the floors here will be made of a renewable resource. Now, speaking of floors, why don't we step out into the garden, because I want to show you a few examples out there. Come on. Now, I get a lot of questions about this idea of chat, but basically what it is, it's a mixture of fine gravel and clay, and it gets packed, and what happens is the gravel rises to the surface, and that's what you actually walk on. Now, I saw this used over and over in gardens when I was a student in England. As a matter of fact, 2 gardens that stand out in my mind that use chat are Arley Hall in Cheshire and Chatsworth in Derbyshire. Hey, if it's good enough for these grand estates, it's certainly good enough for my garden. Now, gravel also makes a fabulous garden floor. I was in a garden in Holland and heard gravel called a dry path, and that makes a lot of sense. I like using gravel in the area all around the greenhouse so I can water without any worry of making a big muddy mess. And one of the newest garden floors out here at the Garden Home Retreat is the use of clay pavers. We're using them in the patio area off the basement level. Now, certainly another form of flooring in the garden is the lawn, but I want to show you something that I discovered this past year. It's the use of strawberries as a ground cover. You can see back here we've cut them all off the edge of the raised bed. You see throughout the growing season the runners spilled over, just as you can see here. And look at all of these strawberry plants that are now growing on the edge of the chat path. And look at the glorious color of the leaves. All shades of red and orange here late in winter and lots of green foliage. So let me show you how I'm using them down here at the other end of the garden. I've been trying to figure out what to plant under the big fig for the last year. You see, what I have here is about a 15-foot diameter circle. And now, with all of these strawberries, the answer is revealed to me. I want a massive planting of a solid ground cover of strawberries under here. And what's great is when the plants come out of the ground, you see you get this nice root system. We're planting them about 6 inches apart, and by next spring, this will be full of strawberries on the ground, and just above, we'll have lots of figs. Now, speaking of food from the garden, let's step over to the greenhouse. I want to show you some special trees. You know, there's certain plants that I can't grow outdoors in my Zone 7 garden, so I bring them inside my little greenhouse. Things like agapanthus or lily of the Nile. I love their gorgeous blooms. And then all those big agaves that I use in containers. And then you get down to some things that are just really good to eat, like my bay trees. The flavor is so great in soups and so forth by just using a few of these leaves. And then, of course, citrus. Just look at this Myers lemon. It's loaded with fruit, and unfortunately, I've discovered that it's also loaded with scale. You can see these little insects. They attach on the backside of the leaves. So what I'm doing is I'm giving it a good spray with an organic insecticide, which should take care of the problem. Now, there's some other things that I'm growing in here too that I'd like to point out. For instance, take a look at these little guys. Now, they're very small, so you may not recognize what they are, but these are actually little olive trees, which produce delicious results. Now, you're probably used to seeing olive trees that look more like this. They practically grow wild in Mediterranean climates. You see, olive oil has been regarded as a precious commodity since ancient times. And during my travels along the central coast of California, I had the pleasure of meeting Tom MacArthur, who explained the different types of olive oils available.
Olive oil has three primary styles: buttery, creamy oil, generally golden in color, generally produced from fully ripe olives. The second style is what we'd call fruity. From mid-ripe olives, the fruity taste has got a little bit of leaf to it, faint green. You can taste the Licino olive, the Pendolino olive. And then the third style is the more bold, herbaceous, peppery oil, the green oil. Green gold, if you like. Just a wonderful oil for people who've never tasted herbaceous oil. If I was buying oil for somebody, I would probably head toward the green gold and let them taste something they've not frequently tasted before.
Besides enhancing the flavor of foods, there's another reason olive oil has become so popular, and that's because of the health benefits associated with this food.
There are several health benefits, one of the more obvious being that you can use it for salad and you'll eat a lot more salads. And secondly, it's quite free of cholesterol, very low saturated fat content. But despite all that, there are many people who believe that olive oil, in fact, does a major job of cleansing the arteries from the effects of cholesterol.
There's so many different oils out there for us to choose from. How do you select, or how do you even get toward olive oil?
That's right. In a place like the States, where there's so many inexpensive, cheap bulk oil, for many people, olive oil is just one choice among many. But increasingly, people are becoming really sensitive to olive oil and looking for good quality stuff. I think people are moving toward good olive oil for several reasons. People are spending much more time preparing food together, eating salads, taking the time to buy what is not only good for them, but tastes good as well. Not all health foods taste good.
That's right.
Olive oil does.
When I think back to my many journeys to California and learning all about olive oil, I can't help but think about salads. You see, I'm hopeless when it comes to lettuce. I'll grow everything I can in spring and fall, a ridiculous amount of all sorts of varieties, not only enough for me, but to share with my friends. Now, I've actually been experiencing some little visitors into my garden, and these aren't the friends I was referring to. So I called an expert to help me put some measures in place that might stop the rabbits and deer from turning my raised beds into a garden buffet. James Messina has spent a number of years researching garden pests and ways to keep them out without hurting the environment. Now, James, this is one section of my vegetable garden, and you can see that even in the early spring, things are really coming on.
Yeah.
But I do have problems with some of my little friends that come out of the woods that enjoy the flavor of these as much as I do.
Yeah, I mean, the groundhogs, woodchucks, rabbits, they're going to be in this place unless you do something to keep them out.
Well, we try to do everything organically. So I think some of the solutions that you're working on that use natural ingredients really are appealing to me because after all, I'm eating this.
We're using plant extracts like rosemary, mint, cinnamon, things that you pretty much can find in your kitchen cupboards at home. But they're formulated in a way that really help use the animal's instincts against them. That if they don't like the taste of these or the smell of these, these plants in nature, the combination that we've put together makes them work all that much more.
I see.
Yeah, and instead of working on fear, it's working against their instincts.
Yeah, for instance, out here we have trouble from time to time with rabbits, and they have a very distinct way of letting you know they've been in the garden by the way they eat.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't that familiar, but what a rabbit will actually do is it'll attack the plant material in a way that looks like someone took a pair of scissors.
Yeah, it's very tidy.
Yep.
It's just a slice across it.
Right, versus deer, that if they do go after this kind of stuff, and if they're in your garden, they're going to come in and grab it and pull it out, and it'll look like somebody tore leaves right off the plant.
Well, and often you see the hoof marks as well.
You do.
I believe in, live and let live. But, when animals get in here and start munching on my vegetables, it's a little hard for me to take.
You're not planting them for them. It's for you and your family. You might as well enjoy them.
There are many measures you can take to prevent deer and rabbits from munching on your vegetables. You can use sprays, deer netting. You can even try bright and shiny objects, and even frost blankets. Each spring, I just can't seem to wait for those garden fresh vegetables, so I do everything I can to get a jump start on the season, like starting my plants in these raised beds. But no matter what I do, I'm always concerned about a late frost or a cold snap that might damage everything I've planted. One trick I've learned from farmers is to cover tender vegetation with frost blankets. And vegetable growers from across the country have discovered that these frost blankets can do a lot more than just keep the frost away. Like organic farmer Peter Eichhorn, owner of Country Flat Farm in California, who explains how frost blankets have saved his crops from more than just the cold.
It keeps it a little bit more moist, warmer in the daytime and in the nighttime. Keeps the soil temperature a little bit warmer. And in all things to consider, the plants grow faster and fuller of leaf. It's cost effective, and it has many other benefits. That's the excitement about it, is not that it just extends the season, but the plants grow better, and we have insect protection, and we have, in this case for me, deer protection, which is also helpful.
Without them, they'd eat you out of house and home.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have anything to sell without the row covers. And in a cooler climate like I have, I can use them all through the summer too.
These frost blankets are effective, easy to use, and a good investment when you consider what you could potentially lose. The love and passion of gardening seems to know no boundaries. Anna Clift, an enthusiast who moved here from an island off Greece, discovered a touch of home in her own backyard. Anna shares with us her garden home that's evolved for over 20 years.
The reason we bought the house is because of the rock formations. I love those natural rock formations, remind me of home in the island of Icaria in Greece. They have a lot of rock formations, so when we were looking for a site to build our house, we thought we should have something familiar. We had the idea, we love the rock formation by the waterfall, and half of the rock formation is natural, and of course we have to build the beds underneath it. We love the water. We're lucky enough to have water year-round. The sound of the water reminds me of home too. The only tree that reminds me of the islands is the chase tree, and it has the smell of the island. So every time I miss home, I go there and smell it. When we first built the house, we start with the front yard. We put 450 azaleas, and I wanted all to be the same color. So we had fashion azaleas, and then, you know, when it started progressing, so we went in the back of the yard. We have 150 more azaleas in the back, and then that's the main core of the yard, the azaleas. Then we add hydrangeas, because hydrangeas, as you know, they love the shade and the water, and it's always wet in the back. And then we add the tennis court later on, so we can have some sun, and then we have some perennials that will give us some color. As you know, it never ends. We had a big tree in the middle of the yard, and we had to remove it because it became too old, and it broke the concrete. So we decided to just tear everything apart and put a fireplace and have an outdoor kitchen that I really love. So it was stages. We did everything with stages. I wish I had a picture before and after, but you know, this is a labor for 20 years. You know, slowly, slowly, we add more things, more things.
If you've ever engaged in a building project, you know it's always nice to begin to see a little light at the end of the tunnel. Here we've tried to embrace as many green components as possible, but you don't have to build something on this scale to think green. Just remember, reduce, reuse, and recycle. Until next time, from the Garden Home, I'm Alan Smith. More information about today's topic and other topics covered in this series can be found at pallansmith.com.
On an upcoming episode of P. Allen Smith's Garden Home.
We're taking a look at some of the living spaces here at the Garden Home Retreat, starting with the fireplaces both inside and out. Find out how to take care of rosemary even in the coldest of winters, and we'll step out into the garden and talk about the importance of organics. Plus, we'll get a look inside this charming savanna garden. Looking forward to our next visit in the garden home.